So welcome, as I said, thank you very much for your interest in this grant opportunity. We're really excited to bring this to you. It was a long time coming. Um, I am Ashley Meyer. I'm the grants coordinator for the Baltimore County Executive's Office, and I'm joined today by two members of my team who will introduce themselves in just a second, and then a representative from the Abilities Network who is partnering with us to help administer this grant. So I'm going to go in the order of my screen for the panelists. So Gabby, if you would go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Gabby Slocum. I'm a grants assistant in our grants office, and I'll be the one doing a lot of the talking at tonight's webinar. So I will do a little less right now.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Bernstein, also a grants assistant with the grants office, and just really excited that you all have joined us tonight after, I'm sure, what's a very exhausting day, but you're a very important part of our county. So we're really excited to explain this grant with you.
And Sarah, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, many of your names I already know. I'm looking through the list of attendees, so welcome, welcome. I am Sarah Fora. If we haven't met, I am the program manager for the Child Care Resource Center at Abilities Network Project Act. And we are going to be here to help you kind of every step of the way.
Thanks, Sarah. So before we get started, I just wanted to say a few housekeeping things. We are going to walk through our whole webinar tonight and then do questions and answers at the end. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat of the WebEx, because what we're going to do at the end of the webinar when we take Q&A is we're going to start reading off the questions and answering them as they come in. Please send the question to everyone so that we can all see the question and we can all benefit from the answer. Please don't send them to any of us privately. We all are on mute. Some of you may be participating by phone, and if that's the case and you're unable to use the chat, feel free to email us your question if it wasn't answered tonight on the call. We are here from 6:30 to 8, and we'll just take as many questions as that time slot allows. We are recording this webinar. We will share the recording of this webinar as well as a PDF of these slides with everybody after we present. So look for that on our Baltimore County ARPA webpage. Look for that through the Abilities Network. We'll make both of those things available to you after tonight. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Gabby get started.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashley. So again, welcome everyone. We're excited to have you here. Like Ashley said, we are here till 8, so I'm going to dive into the meat of this so we have ample time. Questions at the end. Okay, so first off, let's talk about what this grant is. So Baltimore County received an allotment of ARPA funds from the federal government. ARPA funds are American Rescue Plan Act funds, and they are meant to help with COVID recovery for federally, and specifically our allotment of funds is to help for COVID recovery in Baltimore County. We've set aside $2.5 million of the ARPA funds from our allotment to be provided to child care providers that have 14 or fewer registered child care slots. You do have to be a Baltimore County-based child care provider to be eligible for this program, and we'll talk more about eligibility in just a couple of minutes here. Eligible providers will receive or can receive up to $5,000 in grant funds for your child care operation. And as Ashley stated at the beginning here, we are partnering with Abilities Network, and we're so grateful to have Sarah on the call this evening. Abilities Network is going to be reviewing provider registrations and distributing the funds out to all of our grantees. So our timeline, we know this is one of the utmost important things to everyone. So we're here at the webinar today. Now, you can begin working on your applications now. We have a draft application on the webpage, and the content in that is not going to change. However, the submission window begins on May 22nd at 9 a.m. and ends on June 2nd at 5 p.m. We're going to be reviewing those applications for eligibility in the weeks following June 2nd and announcing funding decisions in July. And then also in July, payments are going to begin to be processed and distributed by Abilities Network. Finally, the deadline for you to spend your award funding is December 31st, 2024. This is federal funding, and that is the absolute last day you can spend it. We do not imagine that any of you are going to have any problems getting that money out the door once it is in your hands, but we do just really want to highlight that for everyone. Now, I know some people are going to have questions as we move forward about when a non-draft application is going to be posted on the page. We're aiming to post that prior to this upcoming weekend, and it will be available on the 22nd for you to submit beginning at 9 a.m. on that day. So this is an eligibility-based grant, and that basically means that we are looking at all of the eligibility criteria, and we are hoping to fund as many applicants as possible. So Baltimore County-based childcare providers with 14 or fewer license slots are going to be eligible for that $5,000 in funding. That 14 or fewer license slots reflects the maximum number of license slots that you have. So you do not need to have 14 people enrolled, 14 children enrolled in your childcare program. You just have to have you can have up to a maximum of 14. If you've got 10 childcare slots, if you've got 5 childcare slots, that's fine. The awards are $5,000. They're going to be paid in one lump sum. Again, we have that December 31st deadline here. And if the number of qualifying and complete applications received does exceed the amount of funds that we have available, then we will be awarding funding in the order that applications were received. So, eligibility, probably one of the more important things in this meeting, in this webinar. All the childcare locations must be in Baltimore County, since our allocation of ARPA funds is meant to benefit county residents and county businesses. You do need to have your location based in Baltimore County. You have to be licensed by MSDE and be fully operational for the duration of the grant period. Again, the 14 or fewer licensed childcare slots. And again, you don't need to have 14 children enrolled to be eligible. You just must be licensed to enroll no more than 14 children. You must have been licensed prior to March 11th, 2021. That is because this is COVID relief funding, so it is only available to childcares that existed prior to the pandemic that were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a federal regulation. Any applicants who own or operate more than one childcare location, if you want to apply for your separate childcares, you're welcome to do so. You just have to submit a separate application for each of your sites. And Abilities Network is going to be reviewing all of our applications for MSDE license compliance to ensure that you do have all your licensures. We are using the following MSDE definitions for providers. So if you fall into any of these, follow the criteria we just presented, you are eligible to apply for these funds or eligible for these funds. So that could be a family child care, which you may provide care for up to 8 children in your home. You could be a large family child care caring for up to 12 children. You may be a child care center, providing care in a facility outside of your home that's zoned as a child care center. Or you could be a letter of compliance, and that's things such as nursery schools, child care programs operated by religious organizations, all of those. So, as we said at the beginning of this, the application is online and can be accessed by visiting our grants webpage. We have the link here, and we will be sharing both the slides of this webinar and a recording of this webinar after the fact, so you will be able to access all of these links. The application and all of the required supporting documents, which we'll dive into in just a minute, do have to be submitted digitally via email to grsigrants@baltimorecountymd.gov. And we do want you to title your email Childcare Grant Application, followed by the name of your childcare. We will only be accepting applications via email. You are welcome to print and scan your documents if that is easier for you, but we do need that to be submitted digitally. So application submissions open Monday, May 22nd at 9 a.m. and application submissions close on Friday, June 2nd at 5 p.m. Now, as we said before, the application is currently available online, and we do encourage you to begin working on your application as soon as possible, compiling that information to get it in during this submission window. However, we will not be accepting any applications outside of that submission window. So we encourage you to get a head start, but submit during that time frame. As we said before, we intend to fund as many eligible applicants as our funds allow. We recognize the importance of childcares in Baltimore County, and we want to ensure that we're able to get this funding into as many of your hands as possible. If we get more applications than we have funds, we will be awarding those funds in the order the applications were received. And importantly here, we are not going to be reviewing those applications for eligibility until they are complete with all necessary documents and information attached. So please double check when you submit your application to us that you have attached all the required documents, and we'll look at those in just a second, with your application to have a complete submission package. And at the bottom of the application, there is a checklist to help you with this, to make sure that you are getting everything in that you need to submit. So, what are the application supporting documents that you've now heard me mention several times? First is a digital copy of your license or certificate of registration or letter of compliance. Whichever type of childcare you are, you'll submit that form. We also need an updated W-9 form so that you can get your payments. We need a signed Baltimore County grant agreement, which Ashley will talk about a little bit later in this webinar. That will be provided with your application. And we need a copy of your Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation Certificate of Status. All of these documents are the documents that you must turn in with your application to have a complete application package. So, the first of those, or the last of those, is the SDAT certificate. This is something many of you may not have heard of before, but it is very easy to acquire. So you'll be going to the egov.maryland website, and this is the first thing you'll see when you go to this webpage here. You will type in your business name and hit search, and it will take you to this page. This will obviously have the information for your specific business and not the Maryland Association of County Health Officers. But we were looking for this part here to see if you are in good standing. We are happy to accept just a screenshot of this. You do not need to request any specific form. Take a screenshot and submit that to us. And we just need to see if you are in good standing. The other important document or bit of information that you will need, that I believe I already saw a question pop up in the chat about this, is your unique entity identifier, or UEI. So, since Baltimore County ARPA funds are federal funds, you are required to have a UEI number. These are very easy to obtain. They can be obtained for free at sam.gov. When you go to sam.gov, this is the webpage you will see, and you'll click the Get Started button over here and follow their steps to get your UEI. Now, I do want to emphasize that these are free to obtain. There are second-party organizations that will ask you to pay them money to get your UEI for you. Please do not do that. You do not need to. Make sure you're going through the sam.gov website and getting the UEI through them. You should not have to pay anything to get that number. And this is one of the things that we recommend doing this week if possible, because it can take a couple of days for them to get that UEI number back to you. So we recommend doing that this week in preparation for those submission dates to open. Get your UEI. If you run into any issues with it, we will have information at the end for where you can submit questions to us or to Abilities Network. But it is very simple, and again, please do not pay anything for it. So, the grant agreement, and this is where I'm going to toss things over to Ashley to talk a little bit more. Ashley, just let me know when you need me to go through the slides here. But Ashley's going to go through the grant agreement with you.
Thanks, Gabby. So in order to receive a grant payment from the county, you do need to sign a grant agreement with the county. We have a special grant agreement that outlines the ARPA terms and conditions that are necessary in order to receive ARPA funds. This document must be completed and returned with the application packet. So a version of it is on our website along with all of the other materials you need. You can complete this online and then download it and then send it to us. You're welcome to, if you run into issues or if you prefer to print it and sign it and then scan it, you're welcome to do that. But we have tried to make it so that you can complete it online. This does not need to be notarized. I want to emphasize you do not need to go and find a notary. But when you sign it, you do need to have a witness, and that witness needs to sign the document as well. Next slide. So I want to walk you through just a few screen grabs of the information that you are going to be asked to provide. It is a long document. It is 32 pages long. We know that that is a very big document and that it will take some time to read it. So we recommend looking over it now and you're emailing us any questions you have or concerns so that we can put you in touch with the county's Office of Law sooner rather than later. None of us are lawyers, so we can't answer any legal questions. So if you are looking through this week and you come in contact with something that maybe you need a little bit more information about, please let us know so we can put you in touch with our law office. So this is the first page of the grant agreement. You'll be asked to put the name of your business. So since all of you are child care providers and you will be the grantee, whatever your child care is called its business name, and it must be the same name that is on your SDAT certificate. You'll put that in here. Next slide. And then you'll come to this page. You will complete the information for the beneficiary. This is a few pages down in a different section. Before this, there are a lot of different clauses, and it spells out that you will receive the $5,000. The agreement is between the grants office, and I am the project director for that, and your child care provider. So you'll go ahead and just fill this section out too. This is so that if we needed to exchange any formal mail, we will have your mailing address. Next slide. This is where the first place that you will sign. So you will put your business name, so the name of your child care facility or business. You'll sign your name, you'll put your name in print and your title, and then the witness on the left will sign their name there. Next slide. This is considered attachment D. This is your affidavit, so you will go ahead and put your name and your child care provider name, the name of your business on here, and you will go through basically and you'll attest that you haven't done anything horribly illegal, quite frankly. So you'll just go through and if you have, you'll explain, and if you haven't, you'll just say NA. Next slide. And at the end of that section, you will just put, again, your name and the address of your child care facility. Next slide. And then again, you'll just sign the acknowledgement. You'll sign it, date it, and put your name and your title. And again, I want to just highlight that these agreements are between your child care business and the county. So the information from your SDAT certificate, it needs to match. So please, use that name of your business as the business going through this document, and whatever title you have for your business. Some of you are in-home providers, so you would just, write sole proprietor or whatever, you are. And I believe that's it for the grant agreement. Oh, I was wrong.
I have one more.
One more place that you will just sign. You are your own authorized representative unless you have an authorized representative. If you do have an authorized representative who is conducting business on your behalf, then you can go ahead and have them sign this section. But for most of you and for most of the groups that we grant out to, it's usually one and the same. Again, I just want to mention that we have put this on the website. It is available now, so you can go walk through it now and sign it now online. You're welcome to print and sign if you want to, but we have made it so that you can sign online and then download it and then send it on with your application packet. And I believe that's it on the grant agreement.
That is it on the grant agreement. And I
Okay.
will just add on at the end here before we dive into the next slide that all of the links to all of these documents that you will need to fill out are on our webpage. So the grant agreement, the W-9, all of that is available on the webpage. Okay, so we're going to get into the application information now. So this is all of the information that you are going to have to fill out in the application, starting off with your organizational information, your organization name as it appears on your license or registration, which should be the same as it is on SSTAT, which then should be the same as it is in your grant agreement. We want to make sure all of those names are the same. We'll need your license number with MSDE, as well as your address, telephone, and website, your organizational tax ID, and your UEI number. Then we're just looking for your basic contact information here, the same as any other grant, the name of your primary contact, the role of that contact, and as well as their telephone, email address. If the person applying is different from that primary organization contact, we'll also need their name and the email for that person as well. So getting into the questions that you'll see on your application. These again are referencing back to the eligibility of your grant, of your childcare for this grant program. So we want to know, was your childcare licensed prior to March 11th, 2021? Again, I'll just restate that that is a federal requirement since this is COVID relief funding as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. Is your program currently open to provide childcare services? We'll ask you to identify the type of licensed childcare program that you are, whether that's in-home, large in-home, childcare center, or letter of compliance, and that will determine which of those supporting documents that you need, whether that's your letter of compliance or the documents that you have showing that you are an in-home, large in-home, or a childcare center. We're going to ask you how many licensed childcare slots your program offers. Again, if your program offers more than 14 licensed childcare slots, you are not eligible for this funding. If you offer 14 or fewer licensed childcare slots, you may be eligible for this funding. We'd like to know how many open childcare slots you have. And we need you to describe the impact COVID-19 had on your organization. This is important because, as we said, this is federal COVID relief funding, so we need to know what the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic was on your childcare to understand how you're going to use these funds and how this grant is going to benefit you in running your childcare. We'll get into that a little bit more and how are you planning to utilize the grant funds. We don't need you to explain any of these here other than the one that says other and please describe, but you'll select any of the relevant ones that you may be planning to utilize these grant funds for, whether that be personnel costs, PPE or personal protective equipment, or goods and services that are relevant to the maintenance and running of a childcare. A little bit more just on those allowable costs. In general, we want you to make sure that you can justify why your purchases are necessary to the operation of your childcare. So we need to understand how you are using these funds and how they work in terms of running your childcare, what you are funding to do, and what those funds are going towards specifically. Record keeping. This is very important. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, use of grant funds is subject to audit. We recommend that you keep accurate and complete accounting records. If your grant funds are not spent on those allowable expenses or otherwise misused, you may have to pay those funds back. Again, I know I sound like a broken record on this meeting, but these are federal funds and we want to ensure that you are not paying these grant funds back and that you are able to use them for the benefit of your child care. So getting into the meat of the payments, these awards are $5,000 and will be paid to you in one lump sum. The Abilities Network is going to send out an email via Bill.com to invite grantees to register for Bill.com to receive an electronic payment. Processing time for awards is going to be dependent on the volume of eligible applications received. And to ensure your funding is processed quickly, please submit a complete application package and pre-register with Bill.com. If you don't submit a complete application package or pre-register with Bill.com, your funding might be delayed a little bit. And Sarah, I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak here if you have anything to add. We have another slide on Bill.com as well, which I'll actually skip to that so everyone can see what it looks like.
Yeah, so Bill.com is very simple to use, but you will need to sign up, and it'll ask you for, some of the same information um, that you'll use as far as tax ID numbers go and banking information. And once you sign up for it, it'll get paid directly to your bank account. It'll be like an automatic deposit. You won't be waiting on a check in the mail. And then once once you have submitted your application, and I believe all the information is on the FAQs as well about Bill.com, you'll get an email. I just recommend that everybody pay attention to their email and possibly check their spam because it does come through as Bill.com. And so I know sometimes it can be missed and confused.
Oh, and I'm going to go back one slide here, actually. And Sarah, correct me if this is wrong, but you may see it, Abilities Network referred to as Project Act through Bill.com. So keep that name in mind as well.
That is correct. I think most of the people who have worked with us know that we have a little bit of an identity crisis. Abilities Network, Project Act, and both of those things will come through.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've talked about a lot of things here. This is our TLDR summation page. So the application submission window is Monday, May 22nd from 9 a.m. to Friday, June 2nd at 5 p.m. The application supporting documents that we'll need you to submit with your application to have a complete application package are a digital copy of your license or certificate of registration or letter of compliance, an updated W-9 form so that we can get you paid, a signed Baltimore County grant agreement, a copy of your SSTAT certificate of status, and a UEI number. And finally, since we know there will be questions, and we're going to get to those on this webinar in a minute as well, but if you have questions about the application, please feel free to contact our grants team at grsigrants@baltimorecounty.md.gov. And if you have technical questions, please feel free to contact Abilities Network at the link provided here. Again, these slides are going to be up on our webpage. And if you need the link sooner than the slides are up for whatever reason, please feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to email that link to you as well. This is what that page will look like when you get to it. Sarah, did you have anything to add on those tech questions?
I did. So we have scheduled, when you click on this link and when you go to that page, there's also another option that'll connect you all to join a work group or community of practice or whatever word we want to use. Tuesday the 22nd at 1:30, from like 1:30 to 2:30, and then we have Thursday the 24th, 6:30 to 7:30, or if it takes longer, that's fine. But so anyone who still has questions, and anyone who's already emailed us, will be encouraging you and getting you signed up for that. But just so everyone knows that we do have some time set aside to work with all of you on specific questions.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so I know that Michelle has been tracking the questions in the chat. I've seen that we have had a lot of them come up. We are going to be on until 8 p.m. Doing our best to answer all of your questions. So I will toss it over to Michelle. I'll leave this up for the next couple minutes so people can take down the email, and then I'll hop off this screen so we can see each other.
Thanks, Gabby. I'm trying to compile all the questions, but I see they're coming in, so we'll start with sort of the older ones first. So a few folks asked if they have to have a website, and I'm assuming they do not have to have a website. That's just something we are asking for on application. If you do have one as part of the contact information, if I'm incorrect, I'll give you guys a second to to unmute, but otherwise, no, you do not, have to have a website. Again, it's just part of what we're trying to compile. If you do, so we have a full picture of all of your contact information.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. There was a few questions about a UEI number, so it's just good, I think, to repeat it. So there were questions, what is a UEI number? Do we have to have one? Which yes, you do. There was a few questions about, is it different than a DUNS number? Is it the same as an EIN number? And again, I'll take my stab at an answer, and then if you guys wanna chime in, there were different forms of these numbers before, and they are not the same. So a UEI number is not the same as a DUNS, is not the same as an EIN number. From what I understand, the federal government switched because some of those other numbers were associated with confidential information, so they wanted to get away from that, or they were issued by another third-party organization. So going to sam.gov and getting your UEI number, if you do not have one or you had one of these other numbers, you do need one in order to receive federal funds. So if you have a DUNS or you have an EIN number, you will need to go on sam.gov and get a UEI number.
Yeah.
And if I can just add to that, the UEI replaces the DUNS. So if you had a DUNS number, you now have to go on to replace that with the UEI. Your EIN is separate from this. I'm going to just skip ahead. I did see someone ask how to obtain their tax ID number. That is your EIN. So that is something you can obtain from the IRS, and it is separate from the UEI. And again, we are here to answer those questions if we threw too many acronyms at you.
Okay, so we did get a question about the link you provided still has a sample application. When will a clean copy be available? And so as we stated, the sample is up there so that you can take this week to really prepare everything. And then when the actual application goes live, which will be closer to the submission date, which again begins on Monday at 9 a.m., you'll be able to plug that information in. So it will be posted closer to when the submission date approaches. We had a few questions about witnesses. Can the witness be anybody? Are there any requirements? Can it be a spouse? As Ashley said, it does not need to be notarized. As far as I understand, the witness can be anyone. I believe it can be your spouse, but I don't know if Ashley, Gabby, or Sarah, you want to chime in, but I don't think there's any requirements for that.
There's no requirements. It would probably be preferable to have a business associate be your witness rather than a spouse. But if you're an in-home provider, that's understandable. But there are no requirements.
The one small requirement that I will flag that I do not anticipate anyone not doing this, but they do need to be over the age of 18 to sign because it is a legal document.
That was a good point of clarification, Gabby.
Yeah.
Someone asked, one of the providers asked, where can we find the W-9 form to complete? And as Gabby said during the presentation, that it is on the county grants webpage that we've given out with all the other information. There's a link to download that form. Another provider asked, can you sign electronically, or does it need to be printed, signed with a pen and paper, the application, I'm assuming, and then scanned?
You're
You
welcome
can
to
sign
sign electronically.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. There's a bunch of questions about SSTAT, which I'm not as familiar with, and some of them I think are still coming in, but I'll group a bunch of them are what if I don't have business in SSTAT? What if nothing is coming up when you do a search in SSTAT? What if your SSTAT is not in good standing? Are sole proprietors eligible for SSTAT? And I think there was some, I don't know if you guys see in the chat, right, also saying that like family childcare providers are not listed as businesses on the SSTAT page.
So I will take this one. The SSTAT requirement is one that the county office of law has. We tend to, well, we don't tend, we want to do business and grant funds out to businesses that are in good standing with the state of Maryland. The best answer I can give regarding SSTAT is if you are not registered with SSTAT, we will get back to you. We're going to take this question to our Office of Law in the morning and ask them for some clarification because, to my knowledge, this isn't a federal requirement. It's just a county business requirement. So we will get back to everyone regarding. We'll put an update in our FAQs, and we can probably put an update on our email account too, just letting individuals know kind of what they need to do as far as SSTAT is concerned. So we will get an answer from our legal office and let everyone know.
And I did just see one question come through relevant to SSTAT. Can you clarify, Ashley, like what it means to be in good standing with SSTAT?
Sure. It basically just means as a business that you are up to date on all of your taxes, payments, you don't owe any government any money, your business is just not you have paid all of your bills and paid all of your taxes. So that is what we're looking for. We're just making sure that a business is in good standing and doesn't owe anybody any money when we go ahead and grant out and contract out money to businesses.
Thank you.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, there is one question about the name on the license.
yes,
not-
right, that was the
Sorry.
next one I was going to read. No, go ahead, Sarah. But so the question was just for clarification, my name is on my license, not the name of my business, which is registered with SSTAT.
We will have to talk to our law office about
It looks like Ashley might have cut out for a minute here. But Ashley was saying we'll follow up with our law office to get clarification on that. Sarah, I don't know if this is something you've had any experience with in the past.
No. Well, this is an ongoing thing that family childcare providers, their licenses are all going to probably be their first and last name. But they have a lot of times they have a separate business name. So this will not be surprising if this comes up more and more.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, we will check with our law office and figure out a way to sort of remedy that issue for this population.
Okay, so the next question is, do we need to upload one PDF file or are multiple attachments okay? And I believe multiple attachments are okay. We're just emphasizing that everything, the application and all the supporting documents be sent in one entire email, not in different emails, so that it's with the subject line that was suggested, so we get them at one time. But whether you want to scan them all into one PDF or attach separate attachments, either way is fine as long as it just comes in all at once at the same time. There's another question. What if you're a family provider that utilizes your social and your certificate has your name listed? Is that this? I'm not sure. Right. These are some of the technical questions that I'm not sure if we if that's the same question or a different question.
So for your when we ask for your tax ID, if you do business with your social security number, you would put that in there. If you do business with an EIN, you would put the EIN in there. So if you are a family childcare provider in home and your business is, you're licensed under your name, you use your social security number for your taxes. That's the information you'll put in the application. Regarding, the grant itself is not, if you are a sole proprietor, an LLC, we are not basing eligibility on the type of business model you are, just the size of the child care provider you are. So, you can use your social security number if that's how you do business and pay your business taxes. With the SSTAT thing, again, we will go ahead and talk to our law office and get an answer as soon as possible, which we will put in our updated frequently asked questions document.
And I just saw this question come through, so I'm not trying to jump the gun on you, Michelle, but someone asked what the subject line was, so I just pulled that slide back up. Here, this also has the information for our webpage, so I'll leave this on this slide as we go through the next couple of questions.
Okay, great. Someone asked, which we already covered, where do I find my organizational tax ID? Ashley, I think you had given the answer to that one, but if you just want to reiterate one more time.
Sure. That is your organizational tax ID is either your EIN number, if you do business with an EIN number, or it would be your social if you do business and pay taxes with your social. So it's based on what number you use when you pay your business taxes.
We had another question about the UEI. When you apply for a UEI, do we need to register or just apply for the number? Gabby and Ashley, I'm not sure if you guys are.
You can just
answer that
apply
one.
for the number.
Okay.
Yep.
We had a couple questions about the amount. Is it for the grant award? Is it up to 5,000 or 5,000? And as we stated before, it is one lump payment of $5,000. It's not a sort of sliding scale grant or anything. It's if you have an eligible and complete application, submitted in the window, the application that we're asking for, and it's complete, then you would get one lump sum payment of $5,000. Someone asked also, do we have to pay the grant back? Again, no, this is, you will receive the $5,000. You can use it towards the allowable costs that were stated, or, reimburse yourself for costs within the outlined period of time also for this grant, but you do not have to pay it back.
I would like to just add that you do not have to pay it back. However, if you do not spend it,
Ashley, you're cutting out on my end, and based on Sarah and Michelle's expressions, I think you're cutting out on their end as well. We can hear you now, I think.
Okay, I apologize. I was saying that you do need to spend the full 5,000 by that December 31st, 2024 date, or you will have to return whatever you did not spend. And you will just need to keep documentation on what you spent it on, because at any point, the federal government could audit you and ask, and so you would then be on the hook for that. I did see a question about this being taxable. This is considered taxable income, so you will have to report this on your taxes.
Okay, sorry, I was looking at the the more recent questions that were coming in and trying to compile them in a way that made sense. So we are at, someone asked in the chat, one of the providers asked, how will you let us know if they are receiving a grant award? I believe that's via email, but Ashley and Gabby, I don't know if there's anything you want to elaborate on.
We will send out an email to everyone who is eligible to receive an award, saying that you are going to receive an award.
Okay, great. Someone asked if this grant is for Hartford and Cecil County as well. Unfortunately, is not. This is a Baltimore County grant. So it's for the childcare providers. You would have to have a location in Baltimore County in order to apply for this grant. If you, it's another SSTAT UEI question. Do you want me to read it, or do you think we've already sort of hashed that out a bunch? But so if you're not a registered business with SSTAT, then I don't believe we can apply for a UEI. How do we handle this if we're family providers operating as sole proprietors under our own tax ID? And the UEI question, I imagine, is easier to answer because anyone, right, can apply for the UEI that doesn't have sort of qualifications about your entity. But the other part of the question about sole proprietors and family providers, I'm not quite sure about.
We will, like I said, we're gonna have to go ahead and talk to our law office about the workaround with SSTAT. I am not entirely sure if you need to have an SSTAT certificate to obtain a UEI. I don't believe you do at this time, but again, we will get that answer and we will let everyone know as soon as possible.
Okay, another provider asked, do we have to be current for federal and state?
I'm assuming you mean taxes.
Right, that's what I was
yeah.
thinking too, but I wasn't sure.
So that is what the good standing, the SSTAT good standing is. You need to be in, a business needs to be in good standing in order to receive grant funds from Baltimore County. So as long as you are in good standing, then you are eligible to receive funds with our other eligibility requirements. And again, I will just reiterate that we will talk to the law office about the businesses who do not register with SSTAT in the child care provider community.
Okay, so the next question, as someone said, also a little bit related, I don't have a business name, it's just my name and social security number.
If your business information should match what's on your MSDE child care license and technically what is on your SSTAT certificate. So if your business operates under your name with your social security number and that's what's on your license, your MSDE license, then that's what you'll use going forward.
There's a few questions about the number of slots. So I'll read a few of them. So if my daycare is licensed for 21 children, then we would not qualify, so no centers. The next question is, if you're a medium center with 95 enrolled licensed slots, are you not eligible based on the criteria of 14 or fewer licensed slots? When you say open slots, does that mean you have 14 or fewer vacant childcare slots? We need clarification on this point. So I don't know, Ashley, if you want to answer those.
Sure. So you must be licensed for no more than 14 childcare slots. If you are licensed for 15 or more, 15 to 90 to 100, you're not eligible. We are only providing this grant to centers that are eligible, that are licensed for 14 slots or fewer. Again, that doesn't mean you need to have 14 children enrolled in your program currently. The reason we ask about how many open slots you have on the application is because we do want to get a sense of how many of our providers have vacancies, and so that we as a county can be a better partner to the child care provider community in figuring out how to support you going forward. But as far as eligibility is concerned, you need to be licensed for no more than 14 slots.
Someone asked, do we need to upload the whole grant agreement form? And I believe they do, because I from our other grants, when people only sent in the sort of signature page or the pages that had signatures, I know it was created some complications. So I believe the answer is we need the full grant agreement. Okay. Um, someone asked for the subject line again, which I believe another provider actually put in the chat, but we can, you know, as we wind down, also I'll make sure to do that again. One provider asked, what if I owe taxes, but I'm on a payment plan?
So regarding taxes, you know, as long as you are paying as long as your business, however you are conducting your childcare business, whether that is a separate business entity like
Oh, Ashley, you're cutting out again. We'll give her a second to
or if you're, can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. Okay. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with the internet tonight. What I was going to say is that as long as your business entity, the child care provider business entity, is up to date on taxes, and that does include a payment plan, you should be fine. If you do business as just your individual self and you use your social security number, as long as you are, you know, up to date on your taxes or working on a payment plan, you are fine. If you have just not paid your taxes in a few years and you are delinquent, then you would not be eligible. That is why the county uses the STAT certificate typically in these arrangements. So again, we will get clarification and provide that to you.
Okay. Oh, there's a couple of questions. So I don't know, Gabby, you may want to go back to these slides. The two questions we received so far is what falls under the use of personal in the use category, and the other related question was, can you go back on the eligibility costs? What are we allowed to spend it on?
So because this is federal funds again, and because they are COVID relief funds, we are not getting too into the weeds on telling you exactly what this can be spent on. And I apologize, I'm talking and scrolling, so which is not a good combination. You will need to be able to justify your expenses as necessary for the running of your childcare. And that is if you get audited, if the federal government has questions on how you spent your money and why you spent it on the things that you spent it on, you will need to be able to justify that this was a necessary business expense for the running of a childcare. Ashley, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Just that again, all of the expenses need to be related to your business. So if you want to pay staff, if you are staff and you are paying yourself, you know, you just need to be able to document that and show that since you are an in-home provider, for example, and you are paying yourself as the, you know, in-home provider, you would just need to be able to justify that on paper. You know, expenses for running a childcare, PPE, other supplies, things like that, rent. You know, we don't want to get into an exhaustive list, but we do just want to be clear that these are intended to assist providers in operating your childcare center or childcare operations. So the expenses need to be directly related to that. They cannot be for anything that is not within the bounds of your childcare operation.
Okay, still a bunch of questions coming in.
Can I ask?
Oh, go on.
Sorry.
Sure.
So there's a Michelle in the chat who tried to get an UEI number. Can you private chat me? I'm not sure which Michelle you are, and I have some questions. So can somebody, whoever typed that in, you can either private chat. Is private chat an option?
Yes.
Like
It
it is.
should
Okay.
be to the presenters at least.
Okay. I'm not sure which Michelle you are, and I want to get that cleared up a little bit. I have some questions.
Okay. There was a question in the chat about some of our other grant programs, which like the operating through tough times and service providers. Gabby and Ashley, you guys may have a better answer than I do, but the childcare, the nonprofit grant has closed. The childcare grant, is live accepting submissions. The other grant programs that are listed, our information will be coming soon. They are not, open live grant programs at the moment. And the grants website that we have provided is where, the information will be
Yeah.
posted.
And just because we only have 30 more minutes with you all, I think we'd like to focus on the childcare funding for this call, but keep an eye on the webpage for updates on those grants.
Someone asked in the chat, what website do I go to locate my EIN number? And again, I think we just want to emphasize, right, that it's a UEI number that we're asking for, which is sam.gov. Gabby and Ashley, I don't
Correct.
know if you want to, yeah, okay.
Correct, but the EIN refers to their tax ID number, so you would go to the IRS for that. So you could go to irs.gov or check your tax documents.
Okay, someone asked, can the PowerPoint presentation be emailed for future reference? We are gonna post it on the website.
Yes.
So again, all the information that you need will be in one place on the website with the frequently asked questions, the recording of the PowerPoint, the slides, with all the application and all the other places to download. Right, I had written down, right, someone wrote in the chat that they were trying to get a UEI just now and were having trouble, but Sarah said to message her and she would reach out.
And I'll go back really quick. Sorry, I'm scrolling.
Oh, no, go on.
To here, if you're not able to PM Sarah, you should be able to contact Abilities Network. Sarah, are you able to share or here?
Sorry. Yes.
Are you able to share the link in the chat
that I shared earlier? Yes, I can put it in there again.
So
I will
reach
put
out
it in
to
there in
that
just
link.
a moment. Yep.
That Sarah's sharing in the chat with those UEI. If you're having a problem getting your UEI, and Abilities Network should be able to help you to figure out what's happening there.
There's a couple questions about will our grant applications be held up while we wait for clarification about SDET and the UEI, and related, someone said, so can I complete the application with my name doing business as, or should I wait until you check with the law office?
I'll take those questions. So the application right now is the one that you will complete is not available. Just a sample that shows you the information we'll be asking. So feel free to gather all of that information now, even if you're only have your doing business as information. We plan to ask law first thing tomorrow morning. If for whatever reason there is a significant delay in getting answers to these questions, we will make adjustments to the timeline of this program. We intend to give everybody the full amount of time we promised them to submit applications. So if for whatever reason law needs to confer, for however many days, we will make sure that we put that information on our website and let people know and adjust the timeline accordingly. So I don't anticipate that will happen, but we will let you all know as soon as possible.
Someone asked, why didn't we need a UEI for federal grants we got from MSD or other counties, especially since the grant is passing through Project ACT as the pass-through?
We can't speak to other counties' policies. We have to only go with what we are told by the federal government.
Okay. Someone asked, what if applications can't be submitted because attachments are too large? I know the county recently migrated to an online system, so we can accept much larger attachments. So hopefully there will not be something on our end, but I know other people, their outgoing may have size attachments. So we're hoping you can get it in send it in one complete email, but either I guess just let us know if the attachment size is the reason why, if you need to send a, part 1 of 2, part 2 of 2 to be, just as clear as possible, and just let us know that that's why you, need to send it in multiple emails, because we understand that the county recently also had that had that problem too until recently. So we understand that that's sometimes a hurdle.
I can't guarantee this, and if you are having issues, like Michelle said, email us, and I can double check with our OIT office at that time. You may be able to send it as a zip file. So that might be an option as well.
Someone wrote in the chat, do we have to do time space? I'm not sure what that mean. Oh,
Sarah seems to know.
So no, we're not actually looking for a time space formula. You don't have to turn that in as part of your grant. However, if that's how you're going to calculate how much of the funds you're using for something, then yes, but that's not something we're looking for. So time space is the way they calculate the amount of expenses for their home versus their business part of their home. So, but no, we're not looking for that as part of the grant. You can use time space numbers to for your own backup and for your own understanding in case it's audited by someone, but it's not something you need to turn into us.
Okay, I'm not sure, there's still a lot of questions about the UEI and SDAT, so I'm not sure if I'm trying to match up like the time of when we discuss this, but right, someone asked again, will this hold up our grant application and jeopardize our place in line? I read the UEI application, and I don't believe we can obtain that number without being a registered business with SDAT. That's going to eliminate many family childcare providers operating as sole proprietors under their own tax ID. How do we plan to handle that?
We will have to talk to our law office and get back to everybody. I apologize for not having a better answer at the moment, but we will get one because we want this money to go to you. So we will talk to law, and then we will make sure that the answer is updated on our website and in our FAQs.
I think this was covered, and someone asked, can we take a screenshot of SDAT showing we're in good standing, or do we need to pay the $20 to get the actual certificate? And you do not need to pay to get the actual certificate, and a screenshot is perfectly acceptable. Let's see. I would say while I'm still scrolling, someone wrote in the chat that this seems very complicated. So I didn't know if we wanted to just sort of address for a minute or recap, that we're we're trying to not make it complicated, and that, we're here for you, and certainly Abilities Network, and if you review on the website that, maybe it'll help sort of, outline the information. There's an application checklist, but Ashley and Gabby, I just wanted to speak to that because I saw that comment in the chat.
Yeah, so I would encourage everyone to check out the website first and foremost. We do have all this information laid out on there in what I feel is a fairly streamlined sort of process. But additionally, that is what we are giving you. Our contact information for that is what Abilities Network is here for as well, to help with any of these hurdles or any parts of the process that you feel are confusing or difficult. As Ashley said, as Michelle said, as I've said, we really want to make sure we get this money out to you as efficiently as possible. We're hoping to get these funds into the hands of as many of our eligible childcare providers as possible. We'll be uploading this webinar to the webpage as soon as we are able. Normally there is a couple of days processing time with just getting all of the content uploaded, as well as the recording of this webinar. So all of this information is going to be available to you online. Much of it is already available now. And I did see someone, and I'll tag that in with this, asking again about when the actual application will be up versus the draft application, and saying that you can't fill in the information in the draft application. That's correct. You can't fill the information in the draft application. I'd recommend starting your own Word document where you can fill out that information, and then copy and paste it into the application when it is available. We're hoping to give you the weekend prior to May 22nd to fill out the actual application. At any rate, if that does not happen for whatever reason, we'll make sure that it is up before 9 a.m. on the 22nd.
And I would also just like to add that we have to balance the requirements for this grant program with the county's requirements to do business with the county and receive grant funding with the county. Most of those requirements are extremely cumbersome. So we have to sort of find a way to marry all of the documentation and the processes that are required from the county as an entity with whatever we can do to make this as simple as possible. So again, we are here. We are monitoring the GRSI grants email in real time. You know, those of you that have already emailed us, hopefully we've been able to get back to you in a reasonable amount of time. So please, if you run into questions, we are here to answer them for you.
There's a question in the chat. If my business name is listed as well as my name as the owner in Seattle, will that be okay? Or do I have to match it only my name on the license?
I think this person might need to email us and explain a little bit more. I'm not sure what you mean by Seattle. Oh, sorry, that was Estat. Okay, so if my business name is listed as well as my name as the owner in Estat, well, ideally your license, your Estat, and your business name will all match. So if they don't, we will have to again talk to law about what to do regarding some of the in-home providers, and they're not using Estat as a business practice, so we will have to let you know. I would say as a default, make sure your information matches your license. And when we have a more clear answer regarding Estat, we'll let you all know what that is.
Hey, someone put, how do we send in our essay? And
It'll be a part of the application.
right. Okay,
There will
that's
be a
what, yeah.
section on it.
Yeah, I would say, I assume by essay they just mean the COVID-19 impact statement. And so yeah, that'll be part of the application. There were a couple questions before, which I think we answered, but just want to double check about, like, is it tax free? Do we pay taxes on the grant? And it is considered a taxable income, the grant payment. Someone wrote in the chat, you can just pay yourself in 2 payments, $2,500 each month, and you can use your pay however you choose. I didn't know if we're not going to be too prescriptive about how you use the funds, but I didn't know if we just wanted to comment since someone wrote that in the chat and everyone saw.
We don't want to comment on that. Please use the funds in a way that reflects business expenses. So if you are an employee of your in-home provider, you know, and you choose to pay yourself, you can do that.
And I'm going to jump in on one question that I've heard here, or I see here in the chat, like, what are we waiting on? And just to kind of answer a question that I don't know has been like directly asked, but I think is like kind of under the surface being asked. When we hear back from our law office, we can email everyone that was on this webinar. And also, Sarah, I hope I am not putting words in your mouth, but I believe we could get you to send out that information to all of your providers as well once we have clarity on that. And we will be updating our FAQs on our webpage.
Yeah, we can absolutely do a email blast. Like I said, I recognize many of these names. So we'll definitely do a blast and we can send it out as soon as the answers come back. That's not an issue whatsoever. And I know that you know, we got some of these questions ahead of time and we were hoping that as we walk through it together, we would be able to figure it out. But I do appreciate everyone giving the questions. I know that there are some of you who have SDATs who are family childcare. So yes, many family childcare providers don't have them, but there are some that do. So we just need to figure out like how to move forward and what we can do.
But we will get all that information to you as soon as we have it.
Someone wrote, what if my address on SSTAT is different than my current in-home childcare?
We would, if it's a Baltimore County address, it should be all right. If your address is not a Baltimore County address, on your SSTAT certificate, you'll need to send us some sort of documentation showing that you operate in Baltimore County. So that might be, if you are an in-home provider, that might be any sort of tax documentation that shows that you're operating on a Baltimore County rent, utilities, things like that. So if you are an SSTAT provider with an SSTAT certificate and your address is not in Baltimore County, we're going to need to verify you operate in Baltimore County.
Another question, can we put our name with doing business as our business name?
Whatever business name you use for your license and your taxes is what you should go with.
Another question, so can we go online after we get off and apply for SSTAT?
You certainly can. You're welcome to, if that's what you would like to do. But like, if you would prefer to wait until you hear more about what the county will accept in terms of the SSTAT documentation, please feel free to wait. Like I said, if for whatever reason obtaining an answer to this question significantly impacts the amount of time available to you as a community to complete this application, we will adjust the timeline accordingly. So we'll get an answer for you as soon as possible.
Another question, can we just send in question 19 when we upload our paperwork? And I think again, that's the COVID impact statement, which will be sort of folded. It's, part of the application.
Right. So you will need to submit the entire responses to the full application if that is what that is asking. If question 19 is referring to something else, and we are not answering your question here, please clarify that in the chat. But we need all of the questions in the application to be answered. We need all of your supporting documents to be submitted for your application package to be considered complete. I'm also going to share in the chat really quickly where you can go to get that SSTAT certification. The link was in the webinar, but I'm going to share it in the chat here for anyone interested in that.
We are all caught up with all the questions. There was, some more comments and questions sort of about the SSTAT, but we've discussed that already. But so as far as I can tell right now, we're sort of caught up.
Well, in that case, I think what we'll do is we'll stay on as a team until 8 o'clock to give anyone who didn't have an opportunity to ask their question a chance to put it in the chat. But that concludes our presentation for tonight. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your patience as we sort out this SSTAT issue. Again, we are available to answer your questions. Please email us. Please go to our ARPA website. Like I said, we want to give you this money, so we will do what we can to make sure that this process, goes off without a hitch. So thank you so much.
We did have a question. Someone wanted to know, again, how will they know what the answer, the clarification is about this SSTAT? Are we going to email everyone?
We can email the attendees from this webinar, and we will put it on our website and in our FAQ document.
And I just so everyone knows, I shared the link to the grants webpage in the chat as well, if that's easier for some people to access. We did get,
Oh,
yeah,
Go ahead, Gabby.
We just got a question in the chat. If we receive an incomplete application, will you have a chance to fix it or will it be denied? We will email you back letting you know that it is incomplete and give you a chance to resubmit a complete application. If it does get to the point where we are reviewing things because we have received more applications than funds are available, your sort of spot will be determined by when your complete application is received by us. And yes, you can print out the application.
Don't tell Yvonne that. Don't, Yvonne, you come to us and we'll help you. Don't tell her she can print it out and handwrite it. Yvonne, I'm so happy that you're here because that means you're still here and working in childcare. I know you keep saying you're going to leave, but stop it. So clearly I know that name, ladies. I'm sorry. I was getting
That's
ready to
okay.
type in. I was getting ready to type into the chat. You just beat me to it. No, you cannot print it out and hand do it and then send it back. You come to us. We'll help you.
Anyone wants to print out their application, contact Abilities Network first. That's what we're hearing here.
We can definitely help you guys with some of that, but if you could fill it, I mean, yes, Yvonne, push comes to shove. If you want to print it out and start writing some of it out, and then maybe somebody can help you type it in there, you let us know.
So, and another person clarified, does that mean you'll help us fill it out online? They're asking.
Oh, I mean, we certainly can. I mean, we can help you walk through certain pieces. They're not all going to be like a fillable form, but we can definitely help you fill it out online, walk you through the process. We are coming, we have those two pieces set up and those two work groups set up, but we can also do some individual support with you. I do recommend that if you're not super computer savvy, that you do print it out, handwrite it, so we can, so you have all your thoughts together so we can help you. But,
And then, Ashley, this might be a you question or a law question. Can they use a daycare license as their legal document for SDAT?
I'm going to assume that that question means a document that they need for obtaining an SDAT certificate, in which case I can't answer that. That is a state certificate, so I can't answer that question for you. If you are meaning in place of SDAT certificate, again, hold tight on that. We need to get some clarification from law. I can't answer, unfortunately, any questions pertaining to how the state of Maryland issues SDAT certificates and that kind of stuff. So I can't help you there. But as far as what you need for the county, just hang tight. We will get you an answer. We will make sure that everyone knows the answer to that question.
Oh, go on.
Go for it. You're probably addressing the same one I'm addressing.
Someone said I printed the sample and started filling it out, but I'm confused about the grant agreement. And right, but the grant agreement is also not, it's not live yet also,
No.
right? Isn't it the sample?
No, the grant agreement is live. You can go ahead and
Okay.
fill that out now. The grant agreement is, if you have questions about the grant agreement, let us know in an email. We will, depending on what those questions are, connect you with the county's law office. Gabby, Michelle, and I are not lawyers, so we cannot answer legal questions. If you need some assistance with understanding the grant agreement, again, email us. We will help you to the best of our ability. But that document does need to be completed in order to receive a grant from Baltimore County.
And you should be able to fill that one out online now. And I just popped our GRSI grants email in the chat. So if you have a question about the grant agreement, that's the email that you can use to contact us.
And there was another question, I guess someone said I never paid the fee in 2017, so the entity was forfeited for failure to file property return for 2017.
Yes, so it looks like that's a question regarding SDAT as well. Again, I think that might be clarified more once we get back with our law office. There likely is a contact, Ashley, I'm not sure if you know who this might be, on the SDAT webpage for if your business is not in good standing. figuring out why that is and working to get that rectified.
Yeah, I don't have that information. If you have questions about SSTAT, you'll have to go through the state of Maryland. So you would just go to the SSTAT page and look for, I'm sure there's a contact button and
Yeah,
they
it
would be
looks
able
like
to assist you.
at the bottom of the egov.maryland .gov page link that we shared earlier, there's technical questions and support or filing and business related questions if you scroll all the way down on that initial page.
So whoever asked about the grant form, originally you followed up, you said you still had questions about it. I believe you're the one who followed up, so that's where you get the grant agreement form. Yes, that's on their website. So the form that's on there, you would just fill in your name and sign off on those things. Generally speaking. But yeah, 6, yes, perfect.
Also, I want to know how you're on a phone and submitting questions in the chat because I've not seen anyone figure out how to do that before. And I am thoroughly impressed and would like to know more.
We'll have you do technical assistance for us.
Yeah.
Is there, do you guys have any contact with SSTAT? Oh, Aaron said hit the 3 buttons. Um, but Maria Franklin said she did go onto their website and then she went in person for SSTAT. But do you guys have a person that we could reach out to maybe for Maria Franklin? I don't.
We can ask our Office of Government Affairs if they do,
Okay,
and we can get back to you and let you guys know.
perfect.
Everyone in here is on a phone.
We're very impressed.
Yeah.
So Maria, I'll touch base with you next week probably. See if we can help clean that up.
We are smarter than most, indeed.
Perfect, Maria. So yeah, many of you already have my email address, so. Gotcha, Linda. I will just put it in the chat box. And Michelle, yes, I saw your private message and I have your number. I'm gonna dig in a little bit.
I know we're getting close to time here, and I know as we get even closer, Ashley will close us out. But I do just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and just a huge shout out to Sarah, especially for being our Abilities Network liaison on the call this evening. You've been wonderful at helping to answer questions and just a really integral part of this whole process. So thank you.
And for all the people who are still on, Jenna Miller, who you all know, is also on listening, paying attention to what's going on so she can be helpful to all of you as well.
All right, we're nearing 8 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and give it another minute if anyone has another question. Otherwise, we will stop the recording and we will go ahead and start the process of getting this posted on our website so we can share it with you.
And there is one last question about 3 options to get a UEI.
I'm not sure about 3 options. I know that you can apply just to get the number. That's the quickest option, and that's all you need to do for this grant. You can do like a full registration, which you would only need to do if you had planned on applying directly to the federal government in the future. So the easiest option is just to get the number, and that's all you need for this grant. Okay, it is 7:58. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, we do have another question. What does UEI stand for? Unique Entity Identifier. So this used to be what people would call a DUNS number, DUNS. Now the federal government is calling it a UEI, Unique Entity Identifier. So you need to obtain one of those from the government in order to receive this federal grant. Okay. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll go ahead and say good night. So thank you all so much for participating, and we will get your questions answered. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.